The first Pokopia DLC is officially here, but before you go dropping $35 on the eShop, there are a few massive things you should know about Bubbly Basin and the expansion pass as a whole. So if you're still conflicted whether or not this DLC is worth it, here's everything you should know before buying the Pokopia DLC. So first up, in case you don't know, there are actually 3 parts to the Pokopia expansion pass, and you can only purchase them all together as a bundle. Today, Part 1 Bubbly Basin dropped, which includes a brand new area to explore based on Cerulean City from Kanto. Having beaten Bubbly Basin's main story, I can say it's about as big as some of the areas from the base game, like Withered Wasteland, Rocky Ridges, and 50 new Pokemon to discover. I just wrapped up the main story. Took me about 4 hours, but Pokopia really is a game where you want to immerse yourself and explore every nook and cranny, so in reality, you could easily spend more than 10 hours uncovering every little secret, which, like I said, is pretty on par with the previous areas from the base game. However, it is very important to note that Part 2 of the DLC, or rather the expansion pass, won't feature a new area. According to the official Nintendo press release, the big draw of Part 2 will be that you can wear accessories along with certain Pokemon. Like you can see Pikachu and Snubbull, which actually isn't in Pokopia yet, so there will at least be some new Pokemon added in. Part 3 will be much more like Bubbly Basin, but a whole different brand new area, potentially the final one for Pokopia as a whole. But as for now, only Bubbly Basin has come out, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. Bubbly Basin expands the exploration of Pokopia down under the sea, unlocking the ability for Ditto to dive. Though I should clarify, I believe the dive ability itself is free. So even if you don't have the DLC, you can actually get this cute little bubble around Ditto's head and use it to go into the underwater sections of base game areas like Bleak Beach. Literally anywhere that has water, you can now go down under and even build underwater completely for free. So what the DLC actually adds in are the new buildings, costumes, and very useful tools. They even added some new blocks called buoyant blocks, which you can place in the middle of the water, basically creating a floating platform that you can then put a building or whatever you want on. But the most obvious addition are the slew of new Pokemon, a lot of which can only be summoned in Bubbly Basin, which is the new area. So let's start with the basin itself. In order to reach it, you'll have to have completed some prerequisites in the base game first. The most challenging and most important being that you need to have reached Research Level 5 in Bleak Beach and unlock the ability to surf or transform into Lapras. If you've beaten Pokopia like the base game, you probably did this already. Once you've gotten that environment level up, Professor Tangrowth will want to chat with you outside of the Bleak Beach Pokemon Center, and they'll mention a mysterious new island has appeared in the distance. So surf on over to that island and you will find none other than the mythical Manaphy. This little side quest is actually part of the free 2.0 update. Basically requires you to feed it 5 seaweeds. If you for some reason don't have any seaweed in your inventory, you can easily find some scattered around the beach of this little island or back on the main island of Bleak Beach. Manaphy will chomp down on that seaweed and after showing off its tail glow, teach you how to dive underwater. Then you'll have to dive down and gather some treasure for Manaphy, and it'll teach you how to actually use the controls underwater. Video games get a pretty bad rep for underwater levels, mainly because the controls aren't always great, but honestly, Pokopia does a really good job of handling this, essentially making it so Ditto controls like if it's in its Magnemite transformation that you get in the post-game. It takes a little bit of getting used to at first, but honestly the swimming controls are pretty well done. But anyway, after finding Manaphy's treasure, this is where the real roadblock comes up. If you haven't completed Bleak Beach, this NPC likely won't show up for you. But if you have reached environment level 5, you'll find Poplio, who will eventually point you in the direction of Bubbly Basin's gate. It's pretty straightforward after that, just follow Poplio, or actually have Poplio follow you down into the depths of the ocean to this underwater cave. And for anyone just starting out in Pokopia, you actually don't need to have beaten the whole game before unlocking this area. You'll only need to have done the prerequisites here in Bleak Beach. There is of course a storyline, much like those from the base game areas. Since Professor Tangrowth can't breathe underwater, Poplio will essentially act as the professor in this area, wanting to fix up the town, much like you did for the other abandoned towns of Kanto. And in case you couldn't tell, this is most definitely based on Cerulean City, previously home of the tomboyish mermaid and water gym leader Misty. In fact, you can even find Misty's outfit lying around inside her abandoned gym. As you help out Poplio, you'll be meeting a bunch of new underwater dwelling Pokemon, most of which can also come out of the water, which I found surprising. I thought for sure some Pokemon like Sharpedo would only be able to dwell under the water, but nope, they just float. However, the opposite is not true for land-dwelling Pokemon. Wait, where did it go? I later found this particular Ninetales was by the Pokemon Center, which is sort of in an air pocket cave. So I guess you can bring land Pokemon onto the land areas of Bubbly Basin, but they can't go underwater. There is one exception to this though, in Tinkmaster. After unlocking the Bubbly Basin, if you go back to visit Tinkmaster, they'll have a new side quest, basically asking what you've been up to. I know, it's been like 3 months since I last saw you, I'm sorry. Ditto can actually give Tinkmaster a little air bubble of his own, so they can come follow you to the Bubbly Basin and help out with construction, which will definitely help out because like the previous base game areas, there's gonna be quite a few construction projects you gotta do to progress the story. But also, in case you didn't know, you can time skip in Pokopia, and there's not really as much punishment as there is in other games like Animal Crossing. In fact, you don't even have to close out the game. Just go into your Nintendo Switch settings, forward time, and when you load back in, whatever you're building will be constructed. But that's of course been in Pokopia since the very first version. So next, let's dive into some of the specific updates they added in this 2.0. First up, we've got a couple of new hair colors. I believe the last 5 on the list here from orange to brown. The new hairstyles, however, like this one here, I believe based on Lorelei, are exclusive to Bubbly Basin. One of these hairstyles, by the way, confirms that Pokopia takes place in the Let's Go timeline, because Trace didn't exist in the original Kanto and definitely wouldn't have became champion if Red was around. This is further solidified by Misty's outfit in the game being her design from Let's Go. But going back to the quality of life updates, one of the most convenient ones is the ability to bulk store items. You can press the plus button to store every single item in your inventory into that box, or only items that are already in that storage, which is super convenient if you're trying to offload building materials. And perhaps even more convenient for certain people is that the trash cans actually work now. You can put items in them like a regular storage, but after 1 day, the items will actually disappear. I guess despite the Kanto region being in the post-apocalypse, they still have a trash service. Some pretty cool improvements to building is you can more specifically place certain items like windows and doors. It's kind of hard to explain, but you can kind of see it here how this window pane item can be placed in like 9 different ways. As you can see here, I was able to build a glass block. It's a little weird because it technically made an invisible block that I could then stand on, which will definitely be big for the Pokopia builders. If you want to be even more accurate, you can of course transform into Magnemite, and now they've added an option where you can untransform back into Ditto a lot easier. If you didn't know before, anytime you try to untransform as Magnemite, it would ask you, but in the settings you can turn that off so you can very easily switch between Magnemite and Ditto just like you can with other transformations. And another kind of minor but pretty cool one is when you pull up the weapon or abilities wheel. Normally the whole game pauses, but you can set in the options where when you pull that up, you can still at least walk around. There's a ton more improvements, way too many for me to go over, but I think we've just about covered the major ones. Except, perhaps, the single most important item introduced, not just in this DLC, but to Pokopia as a whole. We finally have Ender Chests! If you don't play Minecraft, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but there's a new item called the Portal Pod, and it's basically a pocket dimensional chest that you can access from anywhere in any world. And that is huge. Like I said, people have been asking for this in Pokopia pretty much from day one, and they even connect to crafting tables. So if you place a portal pod right next to your crafting table, that means you can use the items in there to craft. So you can leave your main one back in your house with all your most important materials and just keep a secondary portal pod with you at all times. As long as you make sure to pick it up, you essentially have a second inventory. So if you want to get a portal pod of your own, you're going to have to find Bill's house. Not the science guy, but the scientist from Kanto who lives up on Cerulean Cape. So from the central square, you'll eventually spot the destroyed and long abandoned Nugget Bridge, which of course in the original Kanto games would eventually lead you to Bill's house. But in Pokopia we can reach it a little bit faster if we turn right from it and head up over this valley here. You're gonna spot a gazebo on the right, and at the end of this path will be Bill's cottage. And inside of this building you'll find your first portal pod, which is a really cool throwback to, of course, Bill's transportation device that he was able to use to put himself into a Nidorino. Bill's kind of a weird guy, but he had the teleportation tech, so I guess that's the connection there. But that's not the only portal pod you can find here, because there's actually a secret basement towards the back of Bill's house, and down in the dark trenches you'll find another portal pod. I know that you can craft more portal pods later on, but I haven't actually unlocked the recipe, at least from beating the Bubbly Basin story. I did see one article that claims you get it from beating Pallet Town, which I haven't done myself. So if anyone can confirm in the comments, I'd appreciate it. There are so many more secrets and rare Pokemon to find in the Bubbly Basin. Even though I played for almost 5 hours, I feel like I've barely begun to scratch the surface. Or the depths, I guess. So I will definitely be making a follow-up video once I've uncovered all the secrets of this DLC. But as for everything you should know before playing, that about wraps it up. Actually, I just remembered one more thing. Just for purchasing the DLC, you get some extra items too, like this Ditto print recipe and 30 rare Pokemetal ingots that I believe you have to claim with a code in the mystery gift. You should get an email very soon after purchasing the DLC. It's the same email as your Nintendo account. Then you just gotta go to any of the Pokemon Center PCs, click on Get Gifts, and then via code/password, enter the code that you got in your email, and you'll be able to get yourself 30 rare Pokemetal ingots. So let me know what you think of the Pokopia DLC if you picked it up. How do you like it so far? And what are your predictions for part 3? What is the next Kanto town we're going to be visiting? I for one would love to see an icy area, since we've only gotten like 3 ice types in the whole game so far. Maybe even a fire and ice theme. Like it could be Cinnabar Island and Seafoam Islands put together. I think that would be really sick actually. So if you're still on the fence whether it's worth buying the DLC now, since you only get the one area, I would say if you have the money and you like Pokopia, why not? To be honest, it's just more Pokopia and I really like the base game. So if you are in a similar boat, you will definitely like this DLC. I'll most likely be live with some more Pokopia gameplay very soon, so if you like my old style of playthroughs, definitely recommend tuning into the live streams. We're going to be trying to complete all of Bubbly Basin, every Pokemon, every secret. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll catch you in the next one.